Do you ever see someone on YouTube crafting their own things? Miniatures, figurines, clothes, cabinets, the list goes on. And then you get that thought in your head, that whisper, I could do that. And suddenly I'm planning on starting an elaborate project that requires skills I don't have. Yeah, that's how this started. You see, in the summer of 2022, I was going through it. But Ghost, aren't you always going through it? That's not the point. The point is, I'd gone to my first ever convention, and I had the time of my life. Free arcade, a dating show, lots of beautiful art, merch, and my first time cosplaying. And with that high came the low. Lower. And lower? And yeah, about there. And you know what's one of my favorite coping mechanisms? Escapism! It's free, sometimes. I mean, not. And I remembered a friend of mine had previously offered for me to borrow her Demon Slayer manga. I read all of it in 1 week, and there are tons of characters that I love. I had even cosplayed Gyu before. This was the project that I had no skills for. I would make my own cosplay, my own Muichiro cosplay. Now, you might have several questions. Why not just buy the cosplay? Well, I had done that for my previous 2 cosplays, but come end of the con, I just felt my Gyu outfit wasn't accurate enough. This was the start of my obsession with biblical accuracy, and cosplay can be expensive. I had known there were places I could get good but cheap fabric. Thank you, Sarah's Basement. So really, maybe I could make this cosplay and spend less money. Okay, well, why Muichiro, you ask? I mean, come on. Look at him. Look at him. My boy!
That's my son! That's my boy!
Without any spoilers, let's say I relate in some ways to him. And also I'm short. So now here we were, September of 2022. I was going to handmake my Muichiro cosplay. I was going to start early, and I would have over 6 months to work and finish this. This was gonna be easy. Yep, over 6 months later, and I was empty-handed. Well, I had a pattern I bought on Etsy in November, but I hadn't even glanced at it since it was purchased. But, you know, things happen. I moved into my own place, I hated my new place, worked on making it better, had a severe depressive episode, and now I was ready to start. The con was officially starting on Wednesday, May 31st, but our first half day was June 1st. But June 2nd was the final deadline, Friday. And I had only ever made 1 garment in my life before, and I needed this to be perfect. So I started with the pattern I had already bought. This is the exact pattern I bought on Etsy, because what I didn't like about my Gyu cosplay was the pants. And I had thought that it's obvious, especially when looking at Sabito or Yuishiro, that the pants they're fitted with are what I learned to be traditional hakama. And the perfect thing about these pants is I would be able to use them for both my Muichiro and Gyu cosplays. For Gyu, I would just wrap the pants at the bottom as he does. I had previously bought some fabric from a cool store in New York City on a trip, and not wanting to ruin it, I wanted to do a full prototype first. Boy, it's a good thing I did. These pleats were difficult. Doing one leg, perfectly easy. Figuring out how to reverse it? Now that's a different story. You can kind of see in this first prototype that because of my pleating in incorrect spaces, the middle looks really weird. And it gave me a chance to figure out the correct length of the ties for the waist and familiarize myself with my sewing machine. Oh yeah, my sewing machine. Basically, my mom had this in the deepest, darkest corners of her house, and I had used it in high school to make this outfit for the Taylor Swift Reputation tour. So, it became mine. I mean, no one in my house knew how to use it anyways. So, manual read, prototype pants made, and fabric to be determined. Oh, and I was going back to New Jersey to visit my sister and see Schaefer James in concert. So that meant a week of time was gone. It was now the first week of May, and all I had done was a prototype of my pants. I was totally calm. Totally. Yeah. Completely. So here was my method for the shirt. I had been religiously studying this animator's reference sheet of Muichiro's outfit, and lucky for me, I had a top from my Gyu cosplay. So I made a base from tracing the parts of the shirt, and then adjusted it a bit. I mainly focused on making this drop shoulder here, and for the sleeves, freehand baby! I measured on my arm about how long I wanted it to be, and then decided to draw out a good shape for the sleeve. This shape was important, at least to me. It wasn't a traditional square kimono sleeve, so looking up anything to help me didn't work. And with a couple of try-ons, and by a couple I mean a lot, and adjustments, I had my sleeves. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't understand the shape of the shoulder part, but hey, I did it. Kinda. On this side, the measurements didn't quite line up, so it was a bit wonky, but I would fix that for the final product. After the shirt, I had the dog sit, and well, lugging a bunch of fabric in my sewing machine was not gonna happen, which meant it was wig time. This was the wig completely unstyled, a good length and decently thick. The main problem to tackle for this was Muichiro's rat's nest? I don't know what they are, but they're cute. The wig I bought came with clip-on pigtails, which were not biblically accurate to me. Here was the plan in my mind. I would separate the wig wefts from the little clip-on pigtails and then place them to create thickness on the sides. Oh, and also add more black to the back here so the blue couldn't show through. Mind you, I had styled 2 wigs before this. My first one had been my Gyu wig, and I crimped the entire thing for thickness. The second was Venti, but well, it didn't need much work. And now I was jumping to sewing in wefts. Yeah, no skills, no previous experience. I was running on pure audacity at this point. It took me, I have no idea, but I do know that I spent several days straight sewing and gluing in wefts. The bangs were next, and with a weird mixture of curlers, hairspray, and a hairdryer, I got these. The rest of the wig was a weird combination. I'd found this video on YouTube where at some point it was mentioned you could glue styrofoam into a wig for death-defying volume. Yeah, this was way past beginner styling at this point. But still, I cut out some styrofoam that I had hoarded from old deliveries, covered it in black felt, and then glued it in between layers of hair. The hair I styled after that were also glued onto the felt to make sure it would stay in place. The wig wasn't quite finished yet, but it was late May and I needed to do the final versions of the clothes now. I'm gonna be honest, I was so focused on sewing I barely documented any of it. I was purely hyper-focused, you know, that ADHD point where I'm just sewing for several hours straight, and I would forget to eat until I was literally shaking and not go to the bathroom or anything, but I was getting things done. So if this part seems rushed, it's because, well, it absolutely was. The finished pants took me 2 days, I think, way faster than the first time, and with a short try-on with my prototype shirt, things were looking good. Oh, also, if you notice this pocket and collar that weren't there the last time we looked at this, I honestly don't know when I did that. Making the base of the shirt was somewhat easy though. Yep, no pocket, no buttons, and hey, I'm not super proud of this collar, but it worked. My buttons were buttoning, the back design was looking alright, and my friends had arrived already while I was still working on styling the back of my wig. Here are your pro tips, except I'm not a pro, so they're kinda just tips. I wanted to use black hairspray to gradient the hair a bit, and it turns out the one I bought dried down matte. So, the shine of the wig, gone. It honestly looks really realistic. And with June 1st being the first day at the con, the next day was the day I had been working towards. Here I am in my full glory, wig half hand sewn and styled myself, shoes and socks from online, but the rest, that was all me, baby. I honestly really like it. I mean, look at this. Super similar. Biblically accurate, even? Oh, and I also had a stuffed crow to act as Muichiro's crow, Ginkgo. I have yet to get some better photos of me in the cosplay, so this is all I have for now. Honestly, in terms of the actual cosplay experience, my self-esteem was super low that day. I mean, sure, I looked great, but I had been expecting some compliments or photos at the con, and I got none. I had done all this work, I grinded for over a month, and it was also just those couple of days, that type of thing where even if I look back and the cosplay looked really good, I didn't feel like I looked really good that day. And part of me tried to look on the bright side. I was thinking, well, I suppose I made it well enough to look like I store-bought it, so that's a compliment in itself, right? But well, I ended up feeling awful. Lucky for me, Muichiro's generally pretty spacey and quiet, so spending my day spacey and quiet was easy. Not to mention that the absolute volume of these sleeves and the pants just made it feel like I was being swaddled the entire day. It was honestly so comfortable, like probably one of the most comfortable cosplays I've ever worn. And the con was fun at some points, but the main thing I remember when looking back is just how awful I felt half of the time. But that's something I've already talked to my therapist about. And well, I put a bunch of new skills on my tool belt for the next clothes and cosplays I would make, right? I had even greatly increased my wig styling skills. And now you think, so the lesson is to build your self-esteem, maybe. Expect less next time? No, not for me. This time, this next con, I'm going big. Next year, my cosplays will be intricate enough that it needs to warrant some sort of comment. And the perfect subject for that?
A round of applause!
This tweet. Since this past August, I set my eyes on Linny as a cosplay. It's currently November 30th as I write this, and what have I done? Well, I've drawn out the pieces to familiarize myself. I downloaded Blender so I could get close views of every part of his outfit. I even got some fabric swatches. Not much for 4 months, but hey, I won't wait until late April this time. Right? Right?